Dim Summary. I need to make sure my mic is on. It is on. So
That's
welcome
good.
to Dim Summary. This was an awesome service, and guys, we're so glad to be here. My name is Kevin. This is...
Hi, I'm Jessica. So glad to be back on Dim Summary with all of you.
Now, last time you were on Dim Summary, you looked a little different, didn't you?
I did. I was much less pregnant last time I was on Dim Summary. And it was like a Canada-US kind of thing.
Yeah, we did a Canada-US thing. This was like 3 months ago, 4 months ago. But now, man, this is awesome. I'm excited. Talk about life under the sun. This is a great period of time for you, right?
It is. It's like a season of change, too, coming in. So we're entering one phase into another. So it was...
Preparation for another phase.
Yeah.
Now, I hear that some women love the feeling of pregnancy.
Oh.
Others don't. What is it for you? Is it sunshine, or is it cloudy, or is it stormy?
You know, it's not bad. The first pregnancy I had with my first son was a lot more turbulent. This one's been a lot smoother. So no real complaints, but I will also be glad not to have like a beach ball like constantly on my body. Like, really.
Well, anyway, by the way, guys, so Dim Summary will be a lot better if you interact with us in the chat. So definitely try to send us, interact with us. Some of you already said great things, and we could just leave it at that. Like, Stephen, you said, because of common grace, we as Christians are no better than unbelievers. The only difference is that we learn how to praise him and give thanks to him for all that we have. Wow. I mean, that pretty much sums up what Pastor Tim was talking about. So anyway,
summary.
Make sure you interact with us. If you have any questions about different things in the sermon, write it in, and I'll see if Jess can answer you. But before we begin, as is customary to Dim Summary, you have to kind of explain what all these things are.
What these dishes
I think I know everything except what that is, but anyway.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess that this is, we know it's a bao. I'd have to really rip open it to see what it is, but I'm gonna guess it's char siu bao, so barbecue pork. Traditional sumai, I see. And this is taro, which I think in Chinese is wo tao.
Wow.
So something wo tao, yeah.
So here's a little something you may not know. Usually right before Dim Summary, we will get the people who prepared the dim sum to text us phonetically how to say all these dishes. And so when Eric and Tim, they're like, oh, this is char siu bao, it's because they've been coached.
They've been coached.
But you weren't coached.
I wasn't coached. I do know these. I do know these.
You've actually taken Cantonese classes,
I
right?
have. And my in-laws are all Canto, so I hope I've learned some things over the years. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
See.
So let's talk about the sermon.
It was great.
What you thought about it, what your reflections were about the sermon.
Yeah, so I love the book of Ecclesiastes, even though, as Tim said, it can start off really depressing, kind of a downer, but I think it's filled with so much just great practical truth. And as Stephen said in the chat, right, like the only difference really is that common grace that we get, that we understand who Jesus is, and that helps us to understand that we can glorify God with our lives as opposed to just blatant hedonism, which, as Solomon found out, is not all it's cracked up to be.
Oh, hey-oh. Well, tell me more about, we have to understand who Solomon was.
Oh, that's true.
To understand why it's so ironic that he wrote this.
It's very true. So Solomon is third king of Israel. His father was David. And so Solomon is gifted with wisdom. He is said to be the wisest man who ever lived, and he ends up just being able to reign under a time of prosperity. So he gains a massive amount of wealth, and I'm sure that also has to do with his wisdom. But the thing about Solomon is, even though he understood who God was, his father David had taught him a lot about how to worship God, Solomon at one point in his life just decided, I'm going to do whatever I want. And he chases women and wealth and other gods. Hundreds and hundreds of women.
Yeah.
And he comes to the conclusion that even after doing everything he could ever imagine, and because he has unlimited wealth and unlimited power, he realized it was really meaningless and empty in the end. And it's
so if you had to put a conjecture on it, where in Solomon's life do you think he writes the book of Ecclesiastes?
I would say probably closer to the very end of his life that he's writing it. And I'm hoping that Solomon has a moment where he repents at the end of it and comes back around. But Ecclesiastes doesn't really give you that closure of him, returning to a faithful walk with God.
Yeah. So this is very interesting. And if we place it at the end of his life, that's very interesting because it's someone who had sought the wisdom,
Right.
and actually was given that wisdom, sought prosperity, was given that prosperity, but it led to nothing. Then he indulged in a lot of women and a lot of wealth, and it didn't satisfy.
Yeah, it can be kind of confusing too if you're at home reading and you read the book of Proverbs, which has all of this wisdom and Solomon instructing his sons to walk in the way of the Lord and to really follow it. And then you hit Ecclesiastes and you're, oh, this is a very different man that you're meeting.
Yeah.
The second
Super
half.
crazy. By the way, small shout out to my friends from North Carolina, Monique
Oh.
and Emma. I hope, Emma, you're out there. They were in our care group, but they're now in North Carolina joining us. Okay, so
Yes.
you are leading the youth ministry.
That's true. I do that.
And I know when I was a youth, I often asked about the question of the purpose of life and the meaning of life.
Right.
So how do you minister there? What do you usually say?
So if we want the very spiritual answer, the meaning.
start there, and then
Start
we'll
there.
toss that out.
We'll toss that. So the purpose of life or the meaning of life is a lot of people will quote the idea of to glorify God. So to use your life to bring glory to God. And I would say that that is the best purpose in life because the more you use your life to glorify God, actually the more you become who God created you to be and you end up experiencing life as Jesus promised to the full. Now, if you're not spiritual, you're not a Christian, then some people might answer the meaning of life is to make an impact or to have a legacy or to leave the world in a better state than it was when you arrived in it. So to make some sort of change.
So what do
for
you
the
tell a
better.
15-year-old?
I tell this 15-year-old that they should really consider using their life to glorify God because they'll do both. You'll make an impact, you'll have a legacy, you'll change the world for the better, and you'll ultimately become who you want to be and who God's made you to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That's very good. And a concept that Pastor Tim brought up in the sermon, this whole asceticism versus hedonism thing,
Oh.
was really weighing on me because I think you read Ecclesiastes, you're like, well, things are all meaningless. It's a vapor. You can't hold
Right.
on to things. So the response in the world is, well, you indulge now. I think
Yeah.
the way contemporary culture works is that we just kind of indulge and just enjoy it.
Right,
Live your
because
best identity now.
if it doesn't matter in the end, then you might as well enjoy the time that you're given.
Yeah. And the flip side of that, oftentimes you lump Christians in this category, is asceticism. Let's spurn all the things in the world.
Right.
Let's kind of get rid of it. Let's deny ourselves.
Right? I
And
mean,
that
I
is
grew
the-
up in Amish country, so very prevalent. I
You did
did.
too.
I did, yeah.
My wife did too, as well. She's from Amish, Pennsylvania. There are Amish people in Canada.
We have more, they're Mennonite, so a little bit different of a branch,
Right.
but we have very big Mennonite communities in Canada, and they were just literally 5 minutes down the road or 10 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, the Amish or the
Mennonites
Mennonites,
or Quakers, yeah.
they kind of give up all technology and all Western advancement. So you see people riding buggies, like
Ah.
horse-drawn carriages, not using the telephone.
It's their way of being set apart from the world
Right,
and
right.
really trying to not indulge in hedonism.
Right. So those are the two responses that we have.
Yeah.
We will likely sway one way or the other. How
Mm-hmm.
do you not balance it, but how do you kind of like chart the middle, stay in the middle?
I think that's a good point because I think a lot of people, they do those dramatic string swings. Like you try to live the best life you can and follow the path and be so good, and then you hit a snag and you get frustrated, and instead of making a minor adjustment, people just like swing all the way to the other side. And so there isn't always that balance in it. And so I think as I try to live that balance, it's really making sure that you, one, can give yourself a little bit of grace too, like recognizing that we are gonna stumble, but also like being wise with what your boundaries are on your life. If they're so strict that you can't even engage with your colleagues or your friends or the world around you, then you're setting yourself almost up for kind of a fall. But if they're too broad, like you don't have any boundaries at all, then it'll be so much easier to engage in revelry or hedonism that will lead you down a path that you don't really like. So trying to find what are boundaries that you have prayed over or are comfortable with that allow you to engage still with people, but also keep you safe from really poor decisions. Yeah.
So how have you found, because I think Pastor Tim's sermon, the main thrust is actually be thankful for enjoy what God has
Yeah.
given you. How do you keep that from swinging into this realm of hedonism and indulging and overindulging in these things?
I think so for me, like when I think about some of the giftings or things, like I'm a very driven person, which has a huge benefit, but can also lead me down to a path of just overwork or of pride or perfectionism. And so trying to keep that balance of being like, I want to use my talents and skills to bring glory to God, but also trying to think, am I doing this for my own glory now in this moment, or am I relying on my own strength, or have I kept it still with like, oh, I'm going to do this to the glory of God and I'm relying on what he has given me. And I think that for me is one of the biggest struggles is like being driven and wanting to succeed and to do everything with excellence, but then starting to go on my own power and then neglecting the other responsibilities or gifts God's given me.
So give us an example from your life where that's happened.
Yeah, well, there's so many. One of the biggest ones I can think of is school, like in university. So, I mean, we're talking way back, but it's one of my biggest humbling moments was growing up. I came from a smaller town, and so high school was kind of really easy, and I was top of the class. It's not hard to be top of the class when your school's like 150 like high school seniors. Like, it's not so hard to do that, right?
My class was 150. I was definitely in the bottom 50.
It's okay,
So-
it happens. And so going from being in the top like 3 to then going off to university, which is a bigger pond, and just having that pride of like, oh, it's fine, I can succeed and work hard. And I just worked and worked and worked, and I put so much of who my worth in and who I believed I was into how well I was achieving. And then for the first time ever in my life, I stumbled and I didn't achieve as well as I could. And it just really broke me. And it took me a long time to come to the conclusion of like, oh, I'd actually put my whole sense of self into achievement and grades and success to the neglect of my family and to relationships. And just then had to spend a lot of time coming out of that and being like, okay, well, who am I actually? Where does my worth really come from? And so chasing success like was, really harmful in university. That first year was a tough one.
Yeah, that's tough.
Learning.
I feel like when the enjoyment of these things starts to fill a void that only God can fill, but it starts to fill a void that you place your identity in, that's when you start to recognize that you're moving more towards the hedonistic indulgence aspect of it, because now it's not just a matter of enjoying the life that God has given you. It is almost a matter of you need to have this in order to be fulfilled. And so what Tim was saying, Pastor Tim just walked by us. I can't believe he's gracing
Celebrity.
us. So he's definitely checking in to make sure we're not going off. Yeah.
come
Just
on
hop
in.
in. I don't know if your mic is on.
Okay. What's up, guys? Hey, how's it going?
Oh, you don't always get
Yeah,
this.
celebrity.
Look, I haven't had lunch yet. Can I?
You can eat.
I'll eat a
There's
little later.
chair right
I'll
there.
eat a little later.
Um,
This is so much fun.
so this is crazy because Tim is preaching 3 times today and then also teaching a
can't believe
dating
that.
class, and he didn't take a break. He just
No.
decided to come on to Dim Summer.
Hey, I'm just hanging out. It's a lovely day. It's
is
a
a lovely
sunny,
day.
beautiful day.
So
I think it's raining.
it actually rained a bit. It poured on.
No,
me.
I have another Freddie video that in case it rains.
Oh, okay.
I'm serious. I got it. Wait, we might have to put that up.
So our question that we are trying to work through.
Oh, no, yeah, here you
now
go.
that you're the preacher man, you can come and help us.
Come
Is
help.
how, and I think you mentioned it in your sermon several times, but just to spell it out for us,
Mm.
how do you go from? I think it's easy to go from thanking God for everything that you have and enjoying
Mm.
the life that He's given us to delving into the realm of hedonism and like,
Right.
indulgence.
Mhm.
So when do you know that maybe a line is being crossed, or maybe you're loving it too much?
Right. That's a tough one because, like, for example, addictions are one that people really get into. You try something a little bit, and then you try a little bit more, and it kind of captures you and grabs you. I think, again, the balance is the idea of keeping the commandments and fearing God. So, like, if you are fearing God and respecting Him, so say you're reading Scripture and you read the passage, like I said, Paul says everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. That might tell you I might have a problem with hedonism. It kind of could be a wake-up call by thinking I might be doing this a little bit too much. To use a very benign one, a very easy one. Pastor Sherman and I have both confessed this. Gaming, you have too.
Everyone at this
struggle.
table.
Everyone at this
Oh, yeah.
table.
Oh, she's a huge gamer. That's right.
Big gamer.
Table.
But just to use an easy one, but it could also correlate with tougher ones like drugs, alcohol, or money or whatever. Yeah. But I remember one night as an adult man with 3 children, married, staying up to 3 a.m. playing a video game. And
Roadblocks.
no, it was Mario Odyssey on the Switch, which was awesome. But don't get too into it. But I remember
Nintendo, if you want to sponsor this,
Yeah.
please.
I specifically remember that night at 3 a.m. going to bed going, I think I have a problem. And it was that one particular game. It wasn't a lot. This was not long ago. I mean, this was like a couple of years ago. But I think that the idea is that we recognize when we have a problem with something. Like you know it in your heart if you've gotten too far with something. Say it's, hoarding money or, wealth or possessions or something. There's a part where your heart should check you and say, I think I'm going too far. Is that kind of what you guys came to a conclusion
Pretty
with?
much.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard too, because sometimes the things that we can involve ourselves in are really good things. Like maybe you love to serve all the time, but then you're saying yes to service opportunities when your family is like, we haven't seen you in 3 nights or 4 nights, or your kids are asking for your attention and trying to be like, oh, even though this is really good, it is actually a detrimental to the other responsibilities I have in my life. And so that's the hard part.
Yeah, perfect example. Pastor Brett talked about it a few months ago. The seminary that Kevin and I and Pastor Brett went to, the professors would tell us, if you're married and you're getting an A in my class, you're sinning. And if you're single and you get a C in my class, then you're sinning. The point is that if you have family responsibilities, you should not be working too hard in the seminary. But if you're single and you got nothing else to do, you should make really good grades, right?
Except I was.
Kevin is just exceptional. He's brilliant. I mean, he and Emily are totally fine.
Dr. Anderson, I hope you're watching. I'm just no, there is Chen Wu. You said something really profound. I find fulfillment in doing things which I believe I will get to see the fruits of in eternity. Otherwise, it will be a waste of all the effort and time invested in it. Don't you think? What do you guys think about that?
I love that, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I mean, it's the idea of doing things not for notoriety, not for pride, but just because you feel like it's honoring God, you know? And one thing that I kind of want to point out, and I did talk a lot about the word meaningless in the sermon, but the idea of hevel, the vapor that it is. It's not like everything that we do is meaningless.
Right.
It's just that it's just not.
It doesn't last.
It doesn't last. It's just a vapor, right? And so not to get so caught up in these earthly things, because the idea is perfectly what they're saying, to shoot for eternity, like to do things that you get rewards in heaven.
And at the same time, just because it's a vapor doesn't mean you can't enjoy it.
Right.
Exactly.
You can enjoy it. So don't feel so guilty if you're like, oh, I just watched like 3 hours of Netflix last night.
Wow.
Okay, I mean, maybe that's a lot.
2 nights in a row.
2 nights in a row.
Actually, I'm talking to you right now, so I'm in quarantine.
I mean, God did give us things to enjoy.
Right.
Part of this life is enjoyment.
I mean, watching Endgame or Infinity War for the first time, it's a vapor. Like it just went by so fast, but
Okay,
what a
so
memory.
This is derailing for sure.
We took the youth to see Jungle Cruise on Friday, so win-win, eternal investment, and enjoyment.
Well, thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah.
That was 25 minutes. It just blew by.
Wow.
We want to give a shout out to all the people. Some are in the Philippines. Some are
Philippines,
Brian
gold
said,
medal.
from Los Angeles. I'm thankful for sunny days, guaranteed sunny days.
Oh, yeah, you are in LA.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks for rubbing it in.
Yep.
But hey, guys, this was a very powerful sermon, and it's something we would encourage you to continue to process and to continue to actually have this posture of thanksgiving.
Yeah.
They actually, I think it's a healthy spiritual discipline sometimes because you recognize that, this isn't, it's like a constant reminder every single day, every action, that it's not permanent. Like, this is God's gift to you right now, this chashu bao, even though it's cold. And
It's still delicious.
but maybe because you're pregnant, like it's not.
It's sweet and
Oh, it's
tasty.
too much for you right now.
Anyway,
It's great.
Anyway,
Anyways, we're derailed.
this is Dim Summary. We're so glad to be here. We'll see you
Great.
next week.
awesome.
Bye.
Bye, guys.